freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your DFS preview for this week's Shriners Children's Open. Joining me to break it all down, Greg DuCharme is here. Greg, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Columbus Day. So anyway, how's everything going? Things are good. Things are good here. Excited for this week. Love the fall series, especially for DFS purposes, which is why I love this show this time of year.
Yeah, these are our guys in the field.
There are guys.
This is home game for me. I'm excited. I'll be out there. I'll set foot for the first time tomorrow. I'll go out to the course and start seeing what's happening. I'll spare you the dropping the ball in the rough videos because I can assure you there is no rough. You won't be able to tell the difference.
No, you could make a spoof video out of it, but it's going to be pretty cool. So are you close enough, Rick, to, is it close enough to just go home instead of going to a media center for any of your obligations or what?
Yes. Yeah. So we're like 10 minutes away. So
a real home game.
Correct. Right. Yeah. Big time. It is actually, so the way that they want the media, I won't give out the details, but they want us to go to a specific location and then shuttle into the golf course. That's like out of my way to do that. Like to go to the media hotel and shuttle in. So I've got a different plan that I'll try to do, but yeah, it's very, very close. This is a course I'm quite familiar with. This is where I get my lessons out of. This is my spot.
This is it. Well, Hey, welcome home. It's a rare thing in the game of golf.
Yes.
So, hey, I'm sure you got some great course info as well.
Well, I don't play it from the same place as those guys do. I know all the places you should definitely not hit your golf ball into the desert. I'm very familiar with those, but no, it is cool. It's TPC Summerlin. We'll just jump right into this. Josh, if you want to share my screen, this is a course that is a staple on the schedule. We get it every single year. Tom Kim is the defending champion, and it's a golf course that's going to play like a vintage desert golf course, Greg, where you're going to have to try to keep it out of the rocks, keep it in play, and you are going to need a lot of birdies. A couple of years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, they set the record for the lowest score to par to make the cut. I think it was like 7 under to make the cut. So if you're not moving forward, you're getting lapped here.
Yes. Now, there have been cases where there's been some wind that has made it a little more difficult, but that's rare. I mean, pretty much every year, this is an ultimate birdie fest. You mentioned keeping it out of the rocks. And yes, that's important, but there's a lot of opportunity, ample opportunity to do that. The landing areas maybe not at your level, Rick, but at the PGA Tour level, there is ample space to keep it out of the desert.
Yeah.
And it's just not one of the more difficult golf courses really at any level. You look at the off the tee level and it's not that difficult. The approach play is not that difficult. The putting is not that difficult. Maybe short game can get a little difficult at times, but you have a short golf course, 7,200 yards and change at altitude.
Yep.
At par 71. So it plays really short and it turns into what I would call a wedge and ultimately a putting contest. And I think that's why when you look at, if you're watching on YouTube, at Rick's website here, it's a correlation that skews strongly to strokes gained putting being very difficult.
Yeah, and just anecdotally start thinking about the guys that have had a lot of success here, the guys that win. You're 100% right. I mean, 7,200 yards on a par 71 at 2,000 feet of altitude is short, right? It's just
right.
And then also, by the way, you're in the desert and the ball runs. So you're getting the best of everything distance wise, which is why some of the shorter hitters have absolutely found a way to contend here. Then you're going to hit wedges into larger than average greens. And what do you get, Greg? It's a putting contest, right? And that is
contest.
A true putting contest. And see how deep you can take it.
The difference between you know, a 3/4 lob wedge and a 3/4 sand wedge is a lot smaller than a 6-iron and a 9-iron, right? As opposed to what you can do coming into the green. You can access hole locations. You can get the ball close with your 3/4 lob wedge and your 3/4 sand wedge. Now, of course, it's always an advantage to have distance because your proximities are on average going to get closer the closer you get. We know that. But it still gives guys the opportunity who are a little shorter to hit a lot of wedges in. And oftentimes the guys that are a little shorter are the better wedge players. They have an opportunity to really make up for that distance discrepancy they normally wouldn't.
The other thing that I want to consider here, and we'll use Ludvig Aberg as the example. You know, he is such a long, straight driver of the golf ball. When you look at a golf course like this that does have the ample space, it is not very long. Obviously, he's still going to be great off the tee, but does that lessen his greatest weapon to it? Like, is that almost, not that it's worrisome, but it would almost be more exciting for Ludvig if this was long and tight?
Yes, exactly. And typically, great drivers of the golf ball start to do better as golf courses get more difficult. Think U.S. Opens, right? U.S. Opens typically lend themselves to the guys that are really long because they have this advantage where they can separate themselves. Golf courses with a really big penalty for missing fairways all of a sudden benefit guys who keep it in play and don't really hit it into those areas of trouble for most of the field. So yes, the advantage is reduced, but it doesn't necessarily take away his ability to compete and score. You know, it's not like he's getting the legs chopped out from under him. But what happens when you look at strokes gain numbers, and you can certainly speak to this as well, Rick, strokes gain approach is in a way a product of what happens off the tee.
Sure.
And if you're hitting it into serious trouble, you can generate some pretty good strokes gained approach numbers without, hitting it really close. Whereas when you hit it really long and in the fairway, quite often, the average gets a lot closer. So it gets harder to gain strokes approaching the green in a way, if that makes sense. And I think we've seen that a little bit with Ludvig through his career. But it does seem like his approach play is starting to kind of catch up to his off the tee game,
he's scary.
Very scary.
It's very scary. One other thing that I will note is that it's basically been a full year since they replaced all those greens and fairways. And we had a pretty moderate summer, relatively. Trust me, it was still hot in Vegas this summer, but like not as bad as it could have been. And I was out there a couple weeks ago. This place is mint, Greg. You know, when like you first get new fairways and greens and like they might be a little bit bouncy, you're trying to figure out what's going, like it is very mint right now, like 13 months after the install.
It's just perfect. You know, when I was at Medalist, I was there for 3 years, and after the first year, they redid the whole golf course. New design, new fairways, new greens. And the second year, it was, still mint by all accounts, right. But it was so fast.
Yeah.
It was mind-boggling. The way you had to play that golf course was insane. I mean, you'd be looking at a 40-yard wide fairway with a subtle movement to the left, and you're worried about a run out that's at like 340. Which is, maybe an issue for Ludvig Aberg, but not for me. That it's like you feel like if you hit it a degree offline, it's just going to run into the palmetto bushes. And then the second year, it was maybe the best conditioned golf course I've ever seen. It was still firm, but reasonable. And it was just so fun to play. The color of the grass was phenomenal. It was mint. And that's what you're getting this year.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now at TPC Summerlin. So it's sick. All right, let's jump into this field. We will go from the top of the board down all the way to the bottom. And we'll do that after a quick word from our partners.
We need the sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And we're back. Here's the cheat sheet on rickrungood.com. And Greg, there are 4 golfers over $10,000. Ludvig at $11,000. Our defending champion, Tom Kim, is 10-9. Cam Davis, 10-3. And JT Poston at an even $10,000. The ascension for Ludvig continues, playing in college earlier this year, and now the most expensive golfer and favorite in a PGA Tour event.
Yes, it's been quite a quick rise. But when you look at this profile, you really understand why. Even if you've been following the NFL a little bit more than the game of golf lately, and you haven't seen Ludvig play in person, he's worth watching and worthy of the highest price mark here in this field. This is a game that is getting more and more complete. It is an absolute weapon off the tee, which is just incredible. And it seems like he didn't play that well last week and loses in a playoff. So things are really looking good for him.
Yeah, he lost strokes putting last week, just a hair, finished runner-up. He won the European Masters just a couple of starts ago. He was ready the second he turned pro, and he is proving that to everyone. So at $11,000, he is the most expensive golfer. Tom Kim's lurking here, Greg, at 10-9, and I'm really interested to kind of see what the industry does with these two, because obviously we love a good shiny object, and Ludvig is new, and he's shiny, and he's sexy, and he's cool, and he's got everything. And Tom Kim is quietly playing the best golf that he has played since he won this event last year. And I like that he continued to play after the Tour Championship. He played twice in September on the DP World Tour. I think Tom Kim is very, very live to contend this week.
Well, the one issue for Tom Kim is that driving distance, which we've already talked about not being an issue here this week. The other thing that was an issue last year for Tom Kim, after, a lot of the comments, he was the next best thing and was going to win every other week on the PGA Tour for the whole year, the putting really kind of slipped.
Yeah.
And that was surprising. He's so young, you don't really know what he is as a player. And so you're wondering, okay, is he a team no putt guy? Well, in his last 7 events, he's gained strokes putting in all of them, albeit you have a Tour Championship and you have a couple DP World Tour events. So there's some maybe asterisks, if you will, but the signs are, hey, there's still some really good putting going on. He's one of the best wedge players in this field, which is going to be very important this week. And I don't know what the industry will do. I guess the way I would describe this $10,000 bucket is I'm okay with pretty much all of them. I really am. There's not a guy that I would cross off this list, but where the industry goes, that may be the thing that gets me to kind of zag one way. Because I love the idea of playing Ludvig. I love the idea of playing Tom Kim as well. And even Cam Davis has looked phenomenal, and JT Poston seems like a great course fit as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, JT Poston has that dual skill set, the approach and the putting. If both of those, that's kind of how you win some of these birdie fests. Are you at all concerned about Cam Davis using his? We have a desert club out here, Greg. Usually, if you rent a club or if you rent a set, they spray paint an 8-iron red. That's what they want you to use out of the desert. Don't scuff up and don't ding up our brand new Titleists. And if you play out here in the desert, usually carry a 15th club that you can whack in there if you hit it in. Are you worried that Cam Davis is going to have to be using his desert club this week?
Not too much. Because I don't know, does he have to hit driver?
See, this is the great, like, being 3 layers deep, where everyone realizes you can't be in the desert. Then you look at it and you say, okay, well, also it's pretty generous in some spots. So it can be hard to get to the desert. But also the third layer is that if you're long enough, you don't necessarily have to hit the clubs that will bring the desert into play, which is the Cam Davis thing that we're trying to figure out.
Hey, you think about some of the golf courses where Cam Davis has had tremendous success. Fortinet, very narrow fairway. Yeah, that's a driver-heavy golf course, so it probably does not necessarily stand out. Memphis, a shorter golf course with a lot of water, a lot of big no trouble. You think about
Twin Cities.
You think about the RBC Heritage, another course where he had some success. You kind of go through this resume of his, and a lot of his success comes on short golf courses where you have to be kind of careful off the tee. Now, I know he won the Rocket Mortgage, and I know we talked about Fortinet being a perfect venue for him because there's not a lot of trouble off the tee. You feel like he can kind of air it out. I trust his game to avoid that stuff. I think he's shown throughout his career, at least since he's really come onto the DFS kind of community's radar, he's shown an ability to play smart and avoid trouble scenarios and kind of play courses that don't seem like a great course fit and make them a great course fit. So I trust his game. I'm not too worried about the Desert Club.
So I am worried, but you're absolutely right in the sense that his results at some of these more, precision spots off the tee, they're good results. So I guess he's kind of making me eat my words along the way. So the way that I see this, I think, statistically, Ludvig is the best statistical player in the field. I'm interested to see how Tom Kim gets treated with that in mind. And then I probably give JT Poston a hair of a lean over Cam Davis, but you're right. I mean, these guys they're 10K. It's hard to go wrong up here.
Yeah, I wouldn't sway either way. I could see JT Poston over Cam Davis because of the little price break. I totally see that. I love where Cam Davis is with his game right now. I think he's really complete and deserving of that third spot. So, perhaps you look at what the projected ownership is. You make a decision based on that, who you think will be the least popular, if there's a pivot play that you like. And the other option would be you build the rest of your lineup first and you see who kind of fits in there best price-wise.
The 9K range. This is kind of a little bit of an awkward range for me. I'm not sure that they are inherently a lot better than the guys in the 8K range, yet you have to pay for it. But it's Siwoo Kim, Eric Cole, Nikolai Højgaard, Emiliano Grillo, Adam Hadwin, and then we round it out with Adam Schenk and Lucas Herbert. Don't get me wrong, there are certainly guys I like here, Greg, but I feel weird in this spot. I'm looking for a little guidance.
Well, I'll give you some guidance. What style of golf is this, Rick?
Okay, so I'll just pull up Adam Hadwin's. So what Greg is getting at is that this is desert golf, and the man who I have up on the screen right now, aka the Desert Fox, Adam Hadwin. And Greg, take it away from here.
Well, look at this. Pull up the course history, okay? Because you look at that main page of his recent form, and it doesn't look great, and I'll get to that. But you pull up this course history. First time here in 2014, it was a T10. You look at 2019, you got a T4, 2021, a T6, another T10 last year. He just seems to get it. Hey, he missed the cut in 2015. Other than that, his worst finish is a T34.
Yeah.
Now, what I love about this, beyond the cute Desert Fox name and my affinity for Adam Hadwin that we all know, look at what he's done putting here.
Yes.
I mean, he's gained over a stroke and a half every single year on the greens.
Never lost, and the gains are significant. Yeah.
Yeah, and 1.82 strokes putting is his worst performance on the greens here. So that makes me feel really good. Now, if you look back at this performance of recent, maybe this is the biggest concern. He's had a lot of time off. And he hasn't played since the BMW Championship. And I kind of look at those last two events where you see some red. you see some concerning elements in the ball striking, and I throw those out because you're talking about August 20th was the last event he played at the BMW, and it's very easy to kind of explain away some of those weak performances in the playoffs.
I actually, yeah, the way he finished, time off was probably a good thing. So great,
Right.
Get rested up, get ready to rock and roll, and get back on a golf course that suits you very well. I'll see your Adam and raise you another Adam, which is Schenk, and he has been a little bit of a roller coaster where he's kind of all over the place, but he is piling up these top 10 finishes. He's got 6 of them in his last 11 starts, and his history around TPC Summerlin is very good as well. 12th, 3rd, 27th, and 18th in the last 4 years. I think that, guys like this, and Schenk rates okay, but when you look at just averages, he kind of gets hurt on averages because there's 2 events here where he gains 11 strokes and gives 7 back the next week, right? And then he might gain 11 again and lose 5. So his averages don't necessarily jump off the screen, but when you look at his good weeks are really, really good.
Yes, and it makes him a really viable DFS play.
Yeah.
And you get the sense that he's hunting for a win. And he's had a little bit of time off too. He played the Tour Championship. Adam Hadwin did not. But I think time off with a new baby at home and a motivation to go get a win on the PGA Tour, which he was as close as ever this year. He really was, and I think we're looking at a big year ahead for Adam Schenk. So he was the other name I wrote down, the 2 Adams. But Rick, I think there's one other guy in this range that we have to talk about.
Oh, okay. Do I
He
wonder?
did not play in the Ryder Cup.
Oh, Eric Cole. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I had narrowed it down to Eric Cole and Nikolai Højgaard. So once you
Yeah.
said he hadn't played in the Ryder Cup, I knew where we were going here. Eric Cole.
All right. It feels to me like this might be a trap. I didn't write his name down, my initial report, but you start looking at course fit, his top name, start thinking about and talking about what's the most important.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Cole's ringing in my head.
Yeah.
Why didn't I write his name down? This is really, really good stuff, but we liked him last week. I know Patrick and I liked him last week. He was on my betting card, and it's a T35. So it feels like a really weak performance out of him, but I think it might be a mistake to overlook his strengths in a tournament like this and not take a guy who can get so hot on the greens, who's such a great iron player or wedge player.
There is I know this is very anecdotal, but there is something about the mini tour guys, the Korn Ferry guys, where they are obligated to go low every single day. And they know how to hold their breath. They know how to make a lot of birdies. I don't care what, it's a skill. It's a skill to go low. And Eric Cole possesses that skill.
He'll just keep on going. But he's used to sprints, whether it's a 1-day tournament, a Monday qualifier, a 2-day mini tour event, whatever it is, those are absolute sprints, and he's won over 50 of them.
Yeah.
So the T35 kind of takes me out. Like, I don't want to go to Eric Cole again, because it feels like as you start getting a lot of birdie fests, his name always comes up. And what I realized after my initial research is it should always come up. So I'm very pro Eric Cole here this week.
He hasn't missed a cut since Colonial, and he's got a lot of decent finishes in there as well. 4th at the Fortinet just at the start of this fall. Listen, I get it. I'm not deterred much by that 35th. I think Højgaard's interesting. I think he's kind of more volatile than most here. And then I worry about Grillo. He's been really struggling, and he's never been able to figure out TPC Summerlin. So this 9K range in general is a little bit awkward, Greg. I think the 8s are actually much more appetizing.
Especially if you love the 10. You love the 10K range. The
Yeah.
problem for me, Rick, is my hands are kind of tied with the Desert Fox being in the 9Ks.
Yeah, you're handcuffed to the desert. All right, we'll continue this conversation, talk about the 8s, the 7, the 6s, and a $6,100 history maker in the field for this week. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Wake up to football highlights and news from around the world with the one and only Morning Footy team.
Rise and shine, football fans. Welcome to Morning Footy.
Start your all-day football craze with Morning Footy, part of the all-new Golazo Network.
And we're back. The 8s. Yeah, these are our guys, right? JJ Spawn, Aaron Rye, Vincent Norman, Tom Hoagie at the top. Alex Smalley sits in the middle. And then we round it out with our most recent winner, Luke List, then Andrew Putnam, Adam Svensson, Bo Hostler, Christian Bezadenhout, and Mark Hubbard. Yeah, okay. These are the dudes. These are the DFS dudes, Greg. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, this is one list where if you're just writing down possible names, you're trying to, find reasons to leave guys out. So I'll just throw a couple names at you. I like JJ Spawn. I like Tom Hoagie. I'm interested in Andrew Putnam. I like Mark Hubbard. And my Eric Cole of the 8K range is probably Adam Svensson. Doesn't feel fair to leave him out either. So somewhere in those 5 guys, I think there's a real winner. But why don't we just start at why don't we just start with Adam Svensson?
Well, listen, there's a very a core of Adams could go a long way this week. Hadwin, Schenk, Svensson, throw in Adam Long if you're feeling frisky. Those are the only Adams in this field. But I certainly start Svensson's name as well. And the T16 at Sanderson Farms was fine, but it still left a lot of room for improvement and a lot of juice to squeeze out of this. He lost a stroke and a half on approach, Greg, when he had been gaining routinely multiple strokes on approach every single week. Quote, all we need to do is have him kind of give us one of those performances from the BMW Championship, back 5 or 6 starts, combine it with everything else that he did last week, and Adam Svensson's making noise.
Yeah, you kind of look at this and you just shift some blocks around. It's very easy to get a solid strip.
It's like that children's game, right? Where you just have to solve the puzzle, move one piece at a time. I've solved the winning puzzle. It's Adam Svensson. I move this approach over here, that approach over there, and we're good.
We got a winner.
Yeah.
I like what he's been doing on the greens, and I like what he did on the greens last week. And I think that's a really good sign. So, and he, similar to Eric Cole, it feels like this should be a great spot for him. It feels like he should be really getting after it with wedges. The one concern is his record here is
bad.
Are
we what level of concern? So 2018, he missed the cut. I don't care about that. 2021 and 2022. So each of the last 2 years, he has been objectively bad.
And a lot of that comes from poor putting. We've seen him struggle off the tee here, but the putting is the one thing I would hope if I'm in a pro play Adam Svensson, I'd hope he can turn that around because he's a better putter than he was during those weeks. I'm not sure there's really a strong case to be made for that. So it might be a level of concern. But the good news, there are plenty of places to go to pivot.
Yeah, I mean, you were rattling them off there. Let's go to Hubbard, because Hubbard has started his fall very strong. 17th in Napa, 6th last week, and he made your list of names that you were saying are worth a deeper look and potentially a click or two.
Yeah, you see what happened with the approach play last week.
Yeah,
he gains over 6.5 strokes approaching the green. But you really got to take a little bit of a deeper look at this because it goes back to, April. And that's when he started working with a new coach. And that is the area that he improved, and it lasted all year, and it's lasted into the fall. And Mark Hubbard has become a better iron player. It's no longer a hot streak, right? We don't have to play that game shifting some, hoping for a good iron play week. It's fairly reliable at this point. and the putting has been absolutely adequate as well. It has been no concern until you get to late Sunday on the 16th hole. It hasn't been a concern other than that. And the record here is okay. But I think he's a better player now at this point this year than he has been in the past. So I don't look at that record and say this is just terrible. He doesn't like the golf course. I just don't think he was that good. And I do now. So I'm very interested.
The one that I'll throw out there, I mean, the Scandinavians are taking over golf. Vincent Norman, no different. Winner at the Irish Open, winner at the Barbasol. He's been playing well. He played after the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoffs wrapped up. All the firepower in the world, all the raw talent in the world. We are starting to see him get everything in order, get everything in line. And I'm just mostly interested in what the next, I feel the same way about Vincent Norman as I did about probably Sahith a year or 18 months ago, which is like, you can see how talented he is. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I'm buying stock for the next 12 months.
It's not as clear as, Ludwig, where you say, okay,
right,
this guy's a robot with a driver in his hands. He's a fine driver of the ball, but you're just not sure what that kind of fingerprint is going to look like. So it's a really good comparison. It's a really good example because he's capable in every area.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of putting it together. We just got to move some green pieces, replace some red places, but it's all there, which is a really good sign. So yeah, I don't feel as committed to that one because I don't quite know, but that might be my problem.
Yeah, he might. Vincent Norman's going to make everyone a lot of money if you can figure out what week those weeks are, and you're not going to see them coming. And good luck. That's
right.
That's the way Vincent Norman is. Are you interested in all going back to our Luke List now accomplished putter?
It always worries me. It's a rule violation. Now, I like what I saw out of him. Love what I saw on the greens, and I like what I've seen over a period of time on the greens.
Is this enough? 4 gains and pretty significant ones in his last 5 starts to say Luke List, even if it's from bad to not as bad, is an improved putter? He has found something. There is something different going on, or are we walking into the Luke List bear trap where he was basically pedestrian on approach last week, which, by the way, there's only like 7 guys in the last 2 years that have won gaining as few strokes on approach as he did last week, who gets himself into a wonky playoff, rolls in a 42-footer at the right time and steals a victory. What am I walking into the ultimate bear trap?
If you remove the win, you take away the name and you take away the results and you just look at the stats, I don't think this would be a guy in comparison with the other players around him in his range that you would like. This looks like too much lean on short game and putting. And that could be concerning. Now, when you add the name to it and the history on and around the greens, it becomes really concerning. I do think he's really worked on it. I do. And I think he's really gotten better at it. So I'm not, out on Luke List long term, but I'm very worried about throwing him into a birdie fest kind of situation.
Yeah.
Sunday was not a birdie fest at the Sanderson Farms. It played tough. Maybe it was just the pressure the guys were facing and they were struggling. It seemed like everyone kind of got allergic to the lead a little bit. But the golf course was definitely firm and fast. So I just worry about throwing him in there, especially when you have, Tom Hoge sitting right there, just a couple $100 more than him.
Hoge might be the guy.
I think he is.
Hoge might be the guy. So what do we know about Tom Hoge is that when he's playing well, he is one of the best wedge players on earth. We know that he is a good enough putter to win on the PGA Tour. And we know that he has had great success around this golf course. And it hasn't always been like that. He slumped basically for much of 2023. But when you get good Tom Hoge which we're kind of getting right now, he's really I think Hoagie might win this.
He went and played after a disappointing season on the PGA Tour. He goes and plays the Irish Open, the BMW PGA, and now he's played the Sanderson Farms. Tom Hoagie said, "No, this isn't. I don't deserve time off. I got to go figure something out." And guess what he's done? He's figured it out. You're talking about at the BMW PGA gains 8 strokes approaching the green. Is that just a DP World Tour thing? No, comes back to the Sanderson Farms last week, gains over 5.5. That's the strength of Tom Hoagie. I think he's got it locked in, and he's heading to a course he's really comfortable with. I mean, sign me up.
Yeah, this is a good convergence of trends. Anybody else? Also, I will note this. So Tom Hoagie's $8,700 on DraftKings. So he is basically the 15th or 16th most expensive golfer. He is currently sporting the fourth shortest odds to win this golf tournament. So
wow,
sports books and or bettors have gotten to the point where they are much higher on Tom Hoagie than his DraftKings salary is,
which is an interesting kind of sign. Vegas knows something. Where are we this week?
Oh,
Vegas.
What does Tom Hoagie like to do? Shoot craps.
Loves it.
So why do you think Tom Hoagie does well in Vegas? Because this dude's got a craps table on every corner,
and he's just walking. He's playing with house money.
Yeah,
he's not craps. He's playing golf with house money.
he's winning on the course. He's winning off the course. He's throwing darts. He's throwing dice. It's a whole thing.
He's just competing for 4 days straight. More.
Yeah,
5 days straight. Who knows? He might have gotten in Friday night. It's
probably did.
A full week of competition.
Why wouldn't you come early?
Can't get enough.
Love it. 7K range, pretty sizable. Start with Garrick, Higo, Justin Sudd, Davis Thompson, Doug Gim, a couple of Vegas guys in that group. The middle is basically your Matt Wallace's, Sam Stevens, Akshay Bhatia's. And then the bottom of the 7K range, Greg, Chad Ramey, David Lipsky, Kevin Yu, etc., etc. How would you like to attack the sevens?
It's almost like it's so big, it feels like everybody in the field is at 7,100. It's an enormous breakdown of players here. So you kind of got to divvy it up a little bit. I'd say up near the top, I'm a fan of, I just want to make sure that I'm saying guys that are near the top here. I'm a fan of Thompson. And then I think I go down a little bit to the lower end here, and I get into where's Peter Quest? Yeah, 72. So there's a couple guys in the lower that I like. Peter Quest. I'm interested in Martin Laird and Chad Ramey. All of those guys, I'm very interested in.
Well, I'll tell you what. Justin Suh plays out of Summerlin all the time. He is also that move the puzzle pieces guy around. He gains 7 strokes in Napa ball striking and loses putting for the first time since, I won't even say the match play because that's a wonky one, since the Honda Classic. This dude never loses strokes putting. And let's just marry a couple of those things together. So Justin Suh, and obviously very familiar with the golf course. I'll pull up Peter Quest's profile here because I think he's a pretty interesting case study as well, Greg. He is a fairly accomplished and proven ball striker in this kind of short run that we've had from him, and he can get absolutely scorching on the greens.
Yeah, I mean, he will have off weeks, and now we're down at 7,200 here, so it's so you're rolling the dice a little bit. Okay, we're in Vegas, so that's a great pun to use. But you look at what he can do when he putts well, and he will gain over 3 strokes. If he putts poorly, he's going to lose more than 3. And his results kind of follow that. So I love what he can do with his iron play, and I'm very impressed with how hot he can get on the greens. I could see Peter Quest peppering this golf course with greens of regulation and just giving himself a mountain of birdie looks, which is exactly what you want. And at 7,200, he feels like a very reliable player to have on the lower end of your lineup.
Would you like to make a prediction at how Ben Griffin will respond to shoulda, woulda, coulda victory at the Chicken Championship?
These are hard. These are so hard for me. It's such a difficult thing because what you see is a guy who lost his golf swing. And did he lose it just on Sunday? It got exaggerated on Sunday, that's for sure. But, he didn't drive it all that great on Saturday either. And the size of those misses, it almost takes this is where I worry about the Desert Club.
Whew.
Yeah,
buddy.
And we're so early in the season, we haven't had a ton of opportunity to watch Ben Griffin play. And what we've seen is him getting contention, which gives us the chance to watch him. And we've seen him spray it. So I'm probably staying away. Might be the wrong play, but
he's a sprayer. Yeah, he's a big time sprayer. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay. If Adam Hadwin is the Desert Fox, Martin Laird is the Desert Dog, right? I mean, he has been phenomenal at desert courses, including here at TPC Summerlin, where he's won not once, but twice, 2009, 2020. I generally just avoid these situations. Like if you're just going to play well in the desert once a year, I don't really care because I don't know. It's actually, his profile is actually better than I thought it was going to be.
It is. I know. And he's one of the guys I mentioned down here. I wouldn't call him the Desert Fox. I'd probably call him the Vegas Viper.
Ooh,
yeah.
nice.
Or maybe the Summerlin Snake.
Oh, Greg, you're hired, bud.
But I like the profile as well. The ball striking's been adequate. The finishing positions are, a little substandard. It's very pale. And it's, if it weren't for this course history, he might be the pale play of the week. But the course history is phenomenal. He putts it great here. He hits it for some reason, just loves hitting it at the flag here.
I can't remember who he beat in 2020, but I remember having a ticket on that guy and losing a lot of, or not losing a lot of money, but not cashing and being like, Martin, I'm going to get beat by Martin Laird now.
Yeah. The Vegas Viper.
2020 Shriners. God, who would that have been? Oh, maybe it was Matt Wolf. He beat Matt Wolf in a playoff. That had to have been it. Because Wolf had those he played well at Summerlin. Maybe it was 2020 and 2021 or 2019 and 2020. I don't remember, but it must have.
That makes sense.
It was a Martin Laird, Matthew Wolf, Austin Cook playoff.
Wow, that's right. I remember that.
And I'm like, I'm going to lose to this guy. I'm going to lose to freaking Martin Laird.
Yep. It happened. Maybe this year you can win with him. I like the profile. There's nothing there's no glaring issues. I think this is a guy who's playing some really good golf. And now coming to a place where I think the results will match the good golf that he's playing.
I just quickly want to look at Troy Merritt's profile. I just saw that he's got 2 top 10s already this year. 7th at Fortinet, 9th at Sanderson. It's not bad. He plays here a ton. Not well, though. Oh, my God. He has 11 starts. He's never finished better than T43. No, thanks.
Nope. But I will say, just at this point, before we get to the 6K range, this is kind of a nice field. We've had some struggles with the fields in the fall events so far. There's been a really big fall off. And one of the things I'm enjoying about this field is you have guys even down into the 6K range who I think are very playable.
I'm glad you said that because I didn't know if I was just like a sicko earlier today when I was like, I like this field. Like this is a pretty fun, deep field. I know that not everybody's going to get jacked up over Troy Merritt in the bottom of the 7K range, but he's got back-to-back top 10s and he comes here a lot. Like what else do you want?
Well, the point, it's not even about just Troy Merritt, right? This is a player with back-to-back top 10s who's at $7,000 flat in a FedEx Cup fall event where, the fields are supposed to have big drop-offs. All these guys are supposed to be taking time off. And he is playing great golf, and at 7,000 flat, it means you got options all over the place, which is fun. You're still a sicko.
Yeah, thank you. Jake in the chat reminded me that Martin Laird, yes, he chipped in from a bunker, I think on 17. No, might have been earlier in the round, but he was plugged under the lip of the bunker. He would have done good to make bogey, and he hold it. And I just knew then it was a start. He did something else silly too, where I think he sprayed it on 17 over right of the tree on the par 3, hit it over the tree and made like a 20-footer for par. It was stars aligning Martin Laird.
It could happen again.
Don't even. $6,000 range. A lot of names at the top. 6,900. Carl Yuan, Carson Young, Grayson Sigg, Michael Kim, Nate Lashley, Stuart Sink. The bottom of this range, flat $6,000, you'll see such names as Brian Stewart, Michael Gligic, Tommy Gainey, but the name that will catch a ton of eyeballs and a ton of oxygen this week is Lexi Thompson. She's $6,100, Greg. Obviously, no PGA Tour experience because she plays on the LPGA Tour, and she's going to become the 7th woman to tee it up on the PGA Tour this week. And do you want to just start there? What is a realistic expectation for a nearly min-priced Lexi Thompson?
The issue here is you look at Lexi Thompson's game, and it's a phenomenal game on the LPGA Tour. She's a great ball striker. I mean, she's just a great ball striker. The area where she really struggles is on the greens. And when you look at the correlation that you have, Rick, for this golf course, and you look at who has done really well here in the past, it has a tendency of being great putters. So my issue with Lexi this week is what happens on the greens. And you talk about getting to 7 under on a 7,200 yard golf course as a shorter hitter. Now she's become a shorter hitter just by playing in a different tournament this week. And it accentuates her weakness a little bit. So it's not a play for me in DFS, but it's certainly a watch and a root for.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll follow her around. I'm excited to see what she does. I think you nailed it. So when you look at $6,100, you'd be pretty happy if she made the cut, right? At $6,100, if you make the cut, great. The industry has laid anywhere between 10-1 and 25-1 that she makes the cut, which is a pretty sizable number against her. And I think it's what you mentioned. Yes, she's going to be the shortest hitter out here. But I actually don't even think that's going to be a problem this week. She has not putted well. She has not played well. And the short game areas they're not difficult. They're a little bit tricky. You have to be you got to be just competent enough around the greens. And I think there's a path to her short game costing her quite a bit around here.
Right. And again, it's you have to consider this is one of those weeks where, well, let's fast forward to next week. We're doing this DFS show next week and we're analyzing players. There are going to be players who miss the cut who we are not worried about at all because they shot 5 under and the cut was 6 under. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, okay, your game isn't in bad shape here. You got to shoot 7 under over 2 days to make the cut. You might have been waiting just a day away from shooting 61. And you missed the cut because a couple putts didn't fall. It's hard to make the cut in these shootouts. And in order to perform in a shootout like this, you got to make putts. And it's hard for me to envision Lexi having a career putting week on the PGA Tour with those hole locations and those kind of green speeds. It's hard for me to foresee that. So I'm probably staying away in a DFS situation.
Other golfers in the 6K range that you might be willing to take the risk on, Greg. Who are we thinking about here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options. Up near the top, I'm interested in EVR and Peter Malnati. They're both at 6,800. Tyler Duncan is also at 6,800, who caught my eye. And then there's a couple guys, maybe we'll save these for later, but down in the, I believe $6,400 range, I got a couple guys there too. But let's start with Malnati, because what we just talked about with Lexi Thompson, you have to be able to putt well. Malnati is a great putter, and that's kind of how he stayed on the PGA Tour. The putting has been okay of late. The finishing positions for this range, pretty good. Pretty good at the Fortinet. Made the cut last week. Been very pale in the ball striking. So I look at this profile and I see it as a positive. And you look at what he's done on this golf course, like you have up right now, and there's been a couple of nice high finishes, which is great.
Yeah, it is an interesting range. You know, the top area has a Harry Hall as well, 6,700, Summerlin guy, played here twice, 8th and 15th, even without form. He's been able to kind of get things going. And where I wonder if we're circling some of the similar names at 6,400. Are you going to say
Kelly Craft?
Yeah, Kelly Craft. That's the guy. I was, going through the field, checking everything out. This is good, Craig.
This is good. I know. This is normally where you start to say, okay, I'm gonna go through a little faster because there's probably nothing here. And all of a sudden, Kelly Craft pops up and really catches your eye. Tied 16th at the Sanderson, tied 25th at the Fortinet. That was all after the layoff to the Wyndham, where he came and tied 33rd rather. Gained strokes approaching the green in all of those events. Gained strokes putting in all of those events, and had some pretty good putting success deep into the year. I mean, this is, it almost feels like it's too, why is he 6,400?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because there's been a longer run of not much success, but this dates back to Travelers, where he has played much better since the Travelers. He's gotten better almost every single week, and now we are getting a pretty darn good version of him heading into this week. I $6,400. You're not asking all that much from him.
Now the record here is not great, but you do see a couple of WDs. WDs come for a few reasons. One, injury. The other, rain delays, that kind of situation. You're not getting that here. So a WD in this case is coming from a game that just isn't working. I gotta go to the range kind of thing.
I gotta get out of here.
Right. It's not, I can't stand this golf course. I need to work on me. So I appreciate the record. I look at this record. I think this is a much better player. I'm willing to overlook it at 6,400. The other guy down here at 6,400 was Robert Streb, who has my attention as well. Again, very pale. You see we talked about him at the Fortinet, and it didn't turn out great. But T35 last week, and the record here, he has a T4 and a T10 here. And a couple of other nice finishes as well. Every year up until last year, he's gained strokes putting here at Summerlin. So I almost feel like Bob Streb down here is a safe play at 6,400.
Bobby Streb, $6,400. I think I am mostly out of golfers in this range. I think we both circle Kelly Craft. I think that I would play a $6,700 hometown Harry Hall, who's had great success here, and I don't know how. You mentioned EVR and Malnati. I'm cool with both of those, and I don't want to mess too much with anybody else.
Yeah. I think that's kind kind of it. Maybe if you needed somebody else, Tyler Duncan, but I don't think you really need too many pivots down here. If you're going to play EVR, you're going to be fine.
Right.
You play Malnati, you'll be fine.
Okay. Anything else before we bop on out of here for the day?
Rick, it's been a pleasure. I think that's all I got.
Absolute pleasure. If you're going to be out there, come say hello. Come find me. I'll be out there. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Looking forward to it.
Enjoy. It's going to be great. It's just great watching these guys up close and personal. It's a really impressive experience. I know you'll enjoy.
They play a different game. It's so sick.
Yeah.
All right. Big thanks. Producer Josh does all the hard work behind the scenes. We'll be back Tuesday for the mega preview pod, Sunday for the recap. You can find Greg on the Twitter/X at the real GFD. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.